Good afternoon. First of all, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to let me come to your board meeting and speak on behalf of some of the administrators. We have been looking at different implementations of standard-based educator evaluation systems. So tonight I'd like to present some information I have, kind of a compare and contrast on what we're doing now using kind of a traditional model versus where we should be using a standards-based model. A traditional model, this is the model that we're using right now currently. Teacher evaluation is common, and in most districts, as of ours, it's a mandatory practice in schools. The traditional program and practices of teacher evaluation, however, are based on limited or competing conceptions of teaching. And unfortunately, they're often characterized by inaccuracy, lack of support, and inefficient training. More often than not, it's a checklist of standards that are marks, either one or the other. The teacher is either satisfactory or unsatisfactory. More often than not, it's a to-do list for the administrators. They just check off, file in the teacher's permanent file until next year or until the next cycle. Unfortunately, the evaluation process that we have now does not reflect an overall idea of how effective the teacher is. It only reflects one class period, maybe two class periods over a course of a school year. It doesn't foster much growth or learning. It is not reflective in nature, and there isn't much collaboration. Traditional models are often characterized by inaccuracy, lack of support, insufficient training. Traditional teacher evaluations practice tend to pursue loose connections between the administrator and the instructional practices. And then, because of that, it limits the ability of principals to foster any improvement of the teaching or learning that's going on. Rather than being used as tools for instructional leadership, traditional evaluation programs are often seen as tasks and treated by both teacher and the principal as an administrative burden. The teacher feels, okay, just one more hoop to jump. I have evaluation this year, get it done, and I can move on. The principal, unfortunately, is kind of in the same boat. Yep, got to get this off my to-do list, got to get the evaluation done, and then I can file it and be done. Also, teacher evaluation has a limited impact on teacher performance and learning. So, why am I here today? You're probably wondering. I believe that we need to change our mindset from a very traditional evaluation, similar to what we have now, to a system that is more standards-based evaluation, because standards-based teacher evaluation provides school leaders and teachers with a common framework that can serve as a basis for improving teaching and learning in schools. It creates conditions for more substantive conversation about reforming teaching practice. It allows for conversations between the teacher and an administrator. It's more collaborative. A lot of great things are happening out of these conversations. Evaluation is a formal means for school leaders to communicate organizational goals, concept of teaching, of course the teaching standards, and the values to teachers. The thing I really like about this, after reading some articles and looking at some of the research, is that it's reflective in nature. There is a collaborative approach to it, and more importantly, there's multiple informal evidence. I think this is the piece that I really like. Not only is it, okay, you have to go in as an administrator, you need to go in and observe the teacher in a lesson or a mini lesson. But I also think that it gives the administrator more evidence when they're watching you in a committee, or maybe you're presenting to some of the teachers, or perhaps parent-teacher conferences. Anything that you're doing constantly, most of the teachers are constantly providing evidence. It's just the administrators have more opportunities to see that evidence. And I really think that's great because it gives an overall idea of how effective the teacher really is versus one single lesson. The new systems focus on evaluation as a common vision of teaching. So much of what principals do is constantly talking about vision and growth and where we should be. It's the same thing for teachers, and it's the same thing for students. So I feel like the students have evaluations all the time, and they're looking for goals and how are we going to meet these standards that the kids need to meet. It's the same thing with teachers. We're all in this together. It's very comprehensive. The standards are, there's rubrics, it's spelled out. Everybody knows exactly what it needs to take to be an effective teacher. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, multiple sources of evidence. This is key. This is huge. Right now we don't have that. And I think that moving in this direction would provide teachers with more evidence to show that, hey, what I'm doing is really great stuff. But I'm not only doing it here, I'm doing it here and in this lesson, in this class, and I just think it's a really great idea. So, I'm sure you're wondering right now, well, okay, what does the research say? Well, here's what the research says. Charlotte Danielson's framework for teaching suggests that more comprehensive set of teaching standards, very clear set of rubrics, and again, as I've mentioned, multiple sources of evidence. After reading Charlotte Danielson's framework, I feel like this is a great foundation that we can revamp our evaluation. There's lots of things that she has come up with. The Danielson Group has websites and all sorts of great ideas. We don't have to recreate the wheel. It's out there, and other districts are doing this. And I think that if we look to see what everyone else is doing, we can be more effective as administrators when we're evaluating our teachers, just as the teachers can be more effective in the classroom. So here are the 4 things that Danielson suggests. 1, goal-setting meeting. This is a great idea. I mean, we are constantly, as individuals, setting goals for ourselves. So let's have a meeting and talk to each other with our administrator and with our teacher about what is it that I want to accomplish this year? Do I have some growth plans? Do I need some professional development? What is it that I need to be a better educator? And then the second is a pre-observation meeting. So after the goal setting is done, then the administrator and the teacher sit down and meet, and they talk about, okay, what is it that you want to get away from this lesson? What are some things that you want me as an administrator to look to see? What kind of evidence do you want me to provide in this lesson? And then there's, of course, the observation. And the cool thing that I've seen on some of Danielson's website is the observation isn't just the administrator sitting in the back taking notes or typing notes. They're walking around, they're asking the students, hey, what are you supposed to be learning? What are you doing today? What have you been doing? And then the last piece is a discussion of the observation. And I think this is really critical too, because this is the collaborative piece that we're missing. You know, instead of just getting something in your mailbox that says, check, met the standards, or check, I'm good enough. This provides teachers with, okay, I'm really doing a really good job at this. I need some help with this. And so how can I work on this aspect? Maybe it's classroom management, for example. How can I work on classroom management to be a more effective teacher? So I just really think there's that collaboration piece that we're missing in the traditional setting that we could have in this setting. And I think that the teachers are going to feel valued. They're going to feel like they're a part of the process. They're going to feel like, you know what, I can be a better teacher, and this is how. So some of the after looking at some of the research from Danielson and some of the other articles that I've read, the principal's responses were several things. What I've noted is that, one, they feel good about the evaluation. They love being able to provide immediate feedback to the teacher in a timely fashion. They feel like what they're doing is valuable to the teaching and to the curriculum and to the instruction. And more importantly, to the teachers and the students. That's why we're here. So the principal, most of the stuff that I've read from the research, the principals love this. This is a great thing for them. They know what's happening in the classrooms, and they feel like they're connected in a way that they're trying to help instruction and help the teacher. On the other side, the teachers, most of the responses were very positive. They felt the climate and the culture of the building, of the relationship with their principal, really flourished, and they're wanting help. And so the most of the teachers that were interviewed after creating a standards-based evaluation system in their school district, it was very positive. They loved the feedback. They loved the collaboration. They loved the different types of evidence. It wasn't just, oh, this is my classroom lesson. It's, hey, I saw you, in a meeting the other day, or a parent-teacher conference, or a data team meeting, or a PLC, or whatever it was, and you were showing this, this, and this. That's great. I mean, how cool is that? I think everyone feels like they're a stakeholder again, instead of, oh, this is this is just a jump through the hoop kind of thing. So I'm going to leave you with these two last things. We have a great mentor program, but it could be better. And I think that when you start with change, you can't just have a dictatorship and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I think if we look at our mentor program, which is a pretty good program, we can start with having standards-based evaluations within our mentor program. How do we start with the new teachers, and how do we kind of get this ball rolling? I think having more collaboration in the mentor program, I think having the mentor show and help the new professional how to get different sources of evidence versus just one lesson plan. So I think they can collaborate together, and the mentor can kind of be an advocate for the new professional for when they have a formal evaluation, so that at the end of the 2 years they're ready to go with their standard license, and they can prove that I'm ready to go and I'm an effective teacher. The next thing I think we could also look at is instructional coaches. I feel that we have these available in our district. What a great opportunity to use the instructional coaches, not as an evaluative piece, but as, hey, this is a resource. You're struggling with X, Y, and Z. I'm going to bring in this instructional coach, and they're going to help you. And then we can look at your growth. I mean, what a great opportunity. We have the instructional coaches here. Let's utilize them more. So these are just some things that that I've looked into and I've researched. Other districts in the state are going this way. I feel like this is just the beginning of a conversation, and I think it's time to maybe revamp and relook at what we're doing traditionally and what we could be doing to have more of a growth mindset versus, okay, just a checklist, get through the hoops. And in the end, if we move towards a standard-based evaluation, it's going to be better off for the climate and culture of the building, the climate and culture of the district. Teachers are going to feel valued. Teachers are going to be more effective. And ultimately, why we do this is the students are going to reap the benefits as well. So again, I want to thank you tonight for allowing me to come to your board meeting and talk a little bit about this. I know this is just kind of an informational, but it's something that I feel like the district, we need to move towards, and I would love to have more opportunities to be able to talk to you more in depth about a standards-based evaluation process. Thank you, and have a great night.